We are recording.
We are recording.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Hey, well, welcome back. And I have to say, we're very, very delighted to welcome another celebrated legend of the VC community. It's Mr. Chris Basket. 4127?
4127Basket.
4127Basket.
It's a silly name, but it was my screen name. I don't know how to choose it.
I was watching one of your videos with a friend of mine and her kid said, if I met him, would I have to call him Mr. Basket?
Mr. Basket. Yeah, I use the basket because I am a very fond of basketball. Played a little bit, but also music, of course.
Yeah, that's the reason. Are you very tall, Chris?
Sorry?
Are you very tall?
No, not that much. I'm 184.
Okay.
184. That's 6'0", 6'1", I don't know.
Okay, well, it's pretty tall. It's a lot taller than I am.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. So we've taken the opportunity of this unusual period to connect with a lot of the people who maybe we haven't seen on the VC for a long time, but people who we've always loved watching and really enjoy their passion and their range of taste. So again, what we've done today is John, Christophe and me have just chosen seven bits of music that we're listening to at the moment, and we're just going to talk about them. We're just going to go one at a time. And I'll kick off. I've definitely shown this band before, but I'm not sure if I've shown this record. This is Salt, but there's Salt 5, and then there's also Salt 7. These are two albums that sort of just appeared out of nowhere. There's not a huge amount to look at here. It's just a 7 made in the shape of 2 matchsticks. But Salt are a very mysterious group. No one seems to know very much about them. Definitely their producer is a guy called Inflow, and he's UK based. I've got a feeling the band might be from America. And to me, they've got this, they've definitely got a sort of 70s soul, but kind of almost that kind of ESG liquid kind of vibe, with a bit of splits, but also with a bit of kind of 80s girl groups. It's kind of a really unusual mix. There's lots of very short songs. They're incredibly catchy, and they often sound a bit familiar, but they are indeed all original. And they've had 2 albums that came out within about 6 months last year, and they still feel to me a little bit undiscovered, but a really great band. Are you familiar with them, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the first time it was on 6-inch pianist channel, John.
Yeah,
I think it featured the number 5. I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't the 7. And I was really impressed by the number 5. With the number 7, I think I have a problem with the vocals are maybe saturated. I just listened to it on Spotify. It was a bit too much for me. But the music is brilliant. Yeah, I don't know. The vocals were maybe it was with problem with Spotify.
Like too much reverb or something.
Yeah. I don't know, but the band is fantastic, really.
Yeah, great bass lines.
Yeah, amazing.
And catchy.
But they had only 2 records. It's 5 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You're
Excellent.
on, Chris.
You're on, Chris.
Okay, I'll start to blend it. It's not easy. Okay. I will start with this. This has absolutely nothing to do with with what you. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So that is some Zook from the 80s. In fact, it's a West Indies musician, Henri Wenceslas Tenard. Since a couple of years now, I'm re-listening to that type of stuff. It was maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, a bit cheesy because it's some Zouk music with some drum machines and with synthesizers. Maybe back in the days it was a bit cheesy, but now when recently it was rediscovered, if you want, by some DJs and that type of music. It's really bouncy. It's quite fresh. I like it. It's a bit a Zook mixed with electro funk and music. It's quite good. I like it.
So Zouk music is a kind of African hybrid music, is it?
Yeah, it's music from the Antilles. So Guadeloupe. This guy was from Guadeloupe.
Right.
He's a trombone player, but he's also a singer. And I think that type of sound, the most famous band from that type of stuff was Kassav. I don't know if you know Kassav.
Yeah.
They were really mainstream, especially in France. And I think that back then, Miles Davis liked their sound really a lot. Probably because he was introduced to that type of music by Mino Sinelu, the percussionist that played with him in the mid-80s. That was also from the Martinique or Guadeloupe. I don't know exactly. So I think it. Yeah. I think if you can listen to it. This type of influence in his album Amandla. It's quite a little bit Caribbean, you know, West Indies stuff mixed with some African stuff too. So yeah, it's just 2 tracks, so it's a giant single, but it had also an album which it's really rare, and well, just check it out.
Nice.
Finding the lockdown's a good time to get the 12 inches out, actually. And this, I had a whole evening where I just pulled out lots of 12-inch singles and had a listen. And this Radio Angela track, Secret Rendezvous, from their first album, Wall to Wall, which they made. It's got such a heavy bass line, this track, absolutely ridiculous. And I forgot what a great, I mean, they look so innocent on the front, actually, but it's a really, it's a kind of vicious sounding track, actually. And it's produced by Bobby Watson, who of course, is a bass player from Rufus, who we featured in the last. Yeah, great sound on this. It was kind of, a lot of people saying this was a bit of a warm-up for the production techniques used on Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. So it's engineered by Bruce Swedian. And yeah, so anyway.
And that's Angela Winbush, isn't it?
That's Angela Winbush, yeah.
Who's Rene?
I don't know who. I think he was Rene Moore. I'm not sure who. I'm not sure who he was actually. I mean, I think he stayed around doing backup vocals and that kind of stuff after that as well.
Do you know that?
Made 3 or 4 albums. So
yeah.
And
do you know that tune, Chris?
What was the biggest hits in the mid-80s? I'll Be Good.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a massive hits everywhere. Yeah. But the first records are the best. Really. I like it.
Well, I'm going to share a 12-inch as well. There's a YouTube channel called The Vinyl Factory, and they are just sort of posting up DJs kind of playing music in their bedroom or in their kitchens or wherever their turntables are. There was a guy who was he appeared to be DJing on the end of his bed with his girlfriend.
I saw that. I saw that.
And this was the track that they kicked off with.
It was quite some techno-house stuff, you know. They were playing.
Pepe Braddock. And
Pepe Braddock, yeah, Deep Burnt.
It caught my ear because it sampled the beginning of Little Sunflower.
Exactly, yeah.
The Freddie Hubbard.
Yeah,
exactly.
Deep Burnt is the track. Deep Burnt. Yeah. I think it's Pepe Braddock is a French guy. In fact, it was in that French touch, you know, house scene with the Daft Punk and guys like that, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, that
yeah, exactly.
I had to grab it. I had to find it.
Fantastic, really.
That's
a great track.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's very airy. But
yeah, exactly.
Music that's just got a nice mood for the time.
He started as the set with that track, yeah?
We did,
yeah. I saw that because I'm following a little bit that Vinyl Factory stuff. There's some good DJs on it.
How did he have those turntables on his bed though?
Yeah.
was amazing,
It
wasn't
was weird.
And he was smoking a spliff at the same time, I think.
Yeah, exactly. With his girlfriend doing nothing.
Yes.
Maybe he's got a very hard mattress.
Yeah. I saw that. That was crazy, you know. Yeah.
All right, Chris, you're on.
Yeah, it's me. Or
Yeah.
John?
It is you. It's you, Christophe.
Okay. Back with some Brazilian. Brazilian stuff. Antonio Adolfo, Brazuca. This was released in 1971. Antonio Adolfo was probably the first guy who introduced the Fender Rhodes in Brazilian music. In fact, during that tropicalism scene, if you want, very political engaged, ecological engaged, all that stuff. You know, there is a track here called Transamazonica, which is definitely about the forest that is disappearing in Brazil, and it's quite. That's his second album. It's with a band, and they play. This is a little bit more on the jazz funk type of stuff. His early, the first record is more like a psychedelic rock, groovy stuff.
I've got that one. It's a fantastic record. I've only got it on CD, but it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
When I was in Brazil, I found a copy and I was going to buy it. And the guy then decided he wasn't going to sell it to me. Right. So I never got it. But I've got it on CD. It's a really brilliant record. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. It might be reissued, I think, probably in the future, because it's really great. And the first one is also very great.
I think he was doing that stuff before people like Diodato and others were doing it, wasn't he, as well?
And Diodato and Joao Donato.
Donato as well. Yeah. Great stuff. Now this has a link back to the video before last we did, and I showed a record by a guy called Lou Courtney, which was released on Soul Brother, and Meloman, who does great videos, so definitely worth checking out. Talking about this record, which I'd never heard of before already as well. And I was looking at it, wanting to try and get it on vinyl, and all the copies are like £200, £300. Yeah, I gave up and thought, okay, I'm going to get a CD. And I went to Amazon and just clicked on the CD, kind of used CD thing, and one of them said vinyl beside it. So I thought it's going to be, it's been mislisted. It was £12, basically. So I clicked on it and got it, and it's obviously not
amazing.
It's a vinyl record. So I managed to get a real bargain. It's a great record, actually, really, really nice. I think all the tracks were originally prepared as demos and then overdubbed with by, I can't remember the guy's name actually. He plays with Steely Dan quite a lot. Paul Griffin, the keyboard player. And it's a really nice record, actually. There's 4 or 5 really killer songs on here as well. So it's a kind of independent, kind of late 70s, early 80s soul release, really, with some really good stuff on it. So I was very happy to get this on vinyl.
Great.
For £12.
Brilliant. There's a blog, which I know John, in fact, I think John turned me on to it, American guy called Flabbergasted Vibes. And he posted this record, which I'm about to show this morning, which is Al Jarreau's Glow, which I hadn't listened to for years. And I've always loved the Agua de Bebe cover, which actually I remember hearing when Giles Peterson used to have a radio. His first kind of BBC show was on BBC Radio London in the mid-80s. I think it was on a Monday, and I was living in a squat, and I remember hearing this tune, and it was like mesmerizing. I didn't know anything about Al Jarreau. And there are the first 2 or 3 Al Jarreau albums have got the same vibe of those early Rufus albums, where there's kind of really nice mix of good songs, soulful, funky playing, but a real kind of jazz thing going on as well. And I was re-listening to this morning, and it was great. There's a great version of Sly and the Family Stone, Somebody's Watching You, which I last time. So Al Jarreau. I mean, his later stuff, was not so great, but his
Wow.
these earlier albums are fantastic. We Got By is another amazing album, actually.
Yes, really. Yeah. Okay, it's me again. This is SSO. I was inspired to pull this out of the shelves. I was watching a video by Fred a few hours ago, and he was featuring Carl Doug. What's his name again? Doug Lucas. Trumpet player that went to Belgium a few years ago, and he lived there, and he was recording with some Belgian musicians. And Fred was featuring one of his records, just the previous one from 1975, and this is a more disco-ish type of release. SSO with the Sugar Sisters, Shine Your Light. There is a track called Faded Lady, which is kind of a rare groove track, quite well known, which was sampled by Nas in a track called I don't remember, Foul Breeze, but it was never really released officially, I think, but it's quite well known. So check it out.
Wow,
very interesting.
All the records you've shown, I don't know so far, Christophe.
Okay, cool. But that was originally released in Belgium too. But this is on Shady Brook. This is the US release. But, yeah, it's cool.
Okay. Another advantage of a lockdown is you can really dig in and listen to very, very long records. And this is going to be always difficult to show this. This is Carla Bley and Paul Haynes' Escalator Over the Hill, which is a kind of triple album set, almost like a kind of jazz kind of opera, really, with the most amazing lineup of musicians on it. Everyone from John McLaughlin to Linda Ronstadt's on here. So it's extraordinary. But it's got some of the best. John McLaughlin, my favourite playing by John McLaughlin. It's a huge book in here as well with all the kind of details of all that. And it was a big deal. It came out in the early 70s, 1971, 1972. And there's some great music on here, actually. I mean, there were so many musicians on it, they couldn't get them all in the studio at one time. So they had to kind of rotate different parts of the recording. But there's a couple of tracks towards the end of the album. One, the song called Roll Hindi Blues, which is, for me has got the best John McLaughlin playing. I always prefer John McLaughlin with other bands rather than Mahavishnu, actually, rather than listening to Mahavishnu. And this is a great example of his playing on here as well. Don Cherry's on here as well. Paul Motion, really great, really great. And it you know, it's a story. It's a whole story on here as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent.
Next album, you may be familiar with. This is Salongo, Ramsey Lewis. Sort of from his, I think, early or mid 70s, 1976. Yeah, I mean, this was still Ramsey Lewis, deep in collaboration with Charles Stepney, who's co-written a few of the tunes, and definitely strong connections with Maurice White and some of the Earth, Wind and Fire players on this. And yeah, I've been listening. In fact, I played on my latest radio show the track "Slick," which is just a phenomenal sort of Latin jazz workout. It's amazing. But yeah, the tracks Salongo Brasilica is amazing. I mean, it's a great album. And yeah, I'm a big Ramsey Lewis fan, and I particularly think this period is sort of a bit neglected. But so many great albums and such a great keyboard player.
I kind of think he's underrated a bit, Ramsey Lewis.
I think he is underrated, yeah.
People know him for obviously the hits, but I think his albums are great.
There's a lot more to them than Wade in the Water.
Yeah.
All right, next in line, Carter Jefferson. This is on the Timeless Records. It's I think a parent label for Muse Records, I think. Just a post-bop record with Carter Jefferson. I think it's his only album. He was in the band. He was in Art Black is in Jazz Messenger one time. I recorded with also with Woody Shaw, and this record is produced by Woody Shaw, in fact. And it has so Carter Jefferson plays sax. You have Teru Masahino on trumpet, Harry Whitaker on piano, Clint Houston bass, Victor Lewis at drums, and Steve Thornton brings a little bit with percussion and congas, and yeah, it's really a nice record.
I love.
Highly recommend.
Love Harry Whitaker's keyboard playing.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, really. And yeah,
he plays. I got him on a couple of Woody Shaw records. He's a great player, actually. I think really nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, now quite often during this time you want some peaceful stuff, but every so often you want to blow the roof off, actually, and this is definitely a record to blow the roof off. This is a Milford Gray's record called Babby or Barbie, and it features Milford with two saxophone players, Arthur Doyle and Hugh Glover. And Sonic Youth fans will know about Arthur Doyle because there's a Sonic Youth track called the Arthur Doyle Hand Cream for some reason. I've never worked out what that's about. But this is an absolute total blowout. Basically. It doesn't stop really from start to finish, and absolutely, it's one of the most. It's kind of tying really with Peter Brotson's Machine Gun for the most kind of raucous sounding record I have in my record collection. But it's really good. It's kind of, it takes spiritual jazz to a whole new level, this record.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very aggressive, no?
Very aggressive. But
yeah.
The day I played it, really dig the trick, actually. It was great, actually. I played it straight after the government breathing on the virus, and it went down a storm. Very rare record, this. But it's a great one. Milford Gray's.
One of the things I've really noticed in the last few weeks is just how many musicians have died. And I got the new record collector this morning, and there's normally 2 pages of kind of obituaries, and there was 4 pages today, just because and like there was just loads and loads of people. And yeah, people know I do a radio show, and I was kind of getting a bit, depressed with just my radio shows were turning into tribute shows for people who just died. So
yeah.
Recently Stevie Wonder had his 70th birthday, and actually it was so wonderful just to play music of somebody who's actually still alive. And very much alive. And anyway, it got me listening to this absolute classic, which is Songs in the Key of Life, which, there's just so much music in here, and it's such a considered piece of sort of spiritual nourishment. I mean, actually from that very first track, Love's in Need of Love Today, it just doesn't let up. So many different styles, and just so much incredible music. So I've been really playing a lot of Stevie Wonder the last few weeks, and it's been great. And not just Stevie, but so many artists have covered his music and done incredible versions as well. Just what a songwriter.
Yeah, really amazing.
Favorite record.
This is I don't know if you know this guy, guys. It's Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel is in fact Sylvia Fagan. She was in that's their only record. It's lovers rock / funk, disco funk stuff. It's pretty rare. It's on Cavallis Records from 1980 or 81. I don't remember. So one of the tracks is Last Funk, and it was also covered by some Jamaican funk group in the late 80s. Yeah, it's quite interesting because it's mixing a little bit of disco stuff and lovers rock, soul.
Wow.
And funk. Really an interesting record, I think. And I think there are people in the VC that are quite into that lovers rock stuff. I think you, Mark, John and Lawrence also.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they know this one. It's pretty rare, but it was also released in South Africa, I think.
Okay.
But mainly the musicians are from the UK. And Nick Straker is playing keys here. And a few guys also from the UK lovers rock scene.
Yeah, was Nick Straker connected with the Cool Notes? I seem to remember.
Yes. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. I've never seen that before, Chris.
Guardian Angel. Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Very good. This was a birthday present from Mark, which arrived 2 days ago, which is a Pharoah Sanders release of a recording he made in France in mid-70s, and it's very mellow Pharoah, actually. I mean, it's kind of certainly not as like the Milford Grapes record. Very nice, really good versions. A great version of the track called "Love Is Everywhere," which was he recorded 2 or 3 times actually, and very mellow. There's kind of a great moment towards the end of the album where as you can see from the back cover, actually there was obviously an organ. Pipe organ in the venue they were running, and the keyboard player gets on the pipe organ for the last track, and it's mad. Really nicely done, nicely put together, good sound, great. And the band is with Danny Mixon on piano. I think might have played with Russ Aaron Kirk, I think, at one point. Calvin Hill on bass, who's a great bass player, played with Cortina, and Greg Bandy on drums, who I don't know, I've never heard of him before. But and it's come out on label. It's come out on Lost ORTF recordings, and that's in fact what it is as well.
1975 or
1975, yeah.
1975. Okay, yeah.
Nice.
Excellent. All right.
They seem to have disappeared already. Actually, they seem to have sold out. So
I think there was quite
a run.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as we were talking earlier, that there's been some great disco threads going on in the VC. And that got me looking at my actually fairly limited Sylvester collection, which is really a couple of 12 inches in this album. But Sylvester, who was I think originally part of a kind of late 60s San Francisco scene, but was a really a big sort of innovator, I think, in terms of fusing together gospel, soul, funk and disco into a really original hybrid. And all Sylvester albums, I mean, I don't have very many, but there's always jewels in there. And I think he's one of those artists that, because he had a massive single, which was You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, which is amazing. To sort of slightly take over his career, I think. But actually the track I've been playing on here is a Burt Bacharach, Hal David track. I think it's I Took My Strength From You, which it's like a really beautiful, slow, grooving 2-step funk ballad with just this beautiful horn coda at the end. And it's an exquisite tune. But I mean, this also has Mighty Real on it, Sylvester too.
Yeah,
great album.
Classic stuff, really.
Yeah.
And you know the track Over and Over.
Yes, I do.
So
that's got that amazing coda at the end as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, really. Yeah.
Well, that's I reckon that would be a loft classic.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. It was really. Next, it's quite not. It's quite obscure. It's as you know, Manu Dibango died a few months ago, also from coronavirus. He was from Cameroon. This guy also was from Cameroon, and it was part of the same Afrobeat / high life kind of stuff, kind of music from Cameroon that were with some French musicians. And the guy is Pat Ndoye, and it's Makossa 2000, and one of the tracks is I think you should check it out online. Is Kalban and Dom. It's absolute sensation. It's just a version a little bit like Soul Makossa, but with some reverbs, with some dub effects. Check it out on YouTube. It's
yeah, Pat Endoy. Okay.
Pat Endoy, but it's yes, it's just like a musician like Manu Dibango a little bit. Yeah, it's a French scene, Cameroon from Cameroon. Yeah. Interesting.
Next up is this, actually, is Frank Sinatra with Tom Jobim. And the reason I played this, actually, as I had this, I think it was my dad's record. I think it was something I got from my dad. But I was reading an interview somewhere, and somebody was saying this is one of the best sounding records in terms of its production. And the whole sonics of the record is so extraordinary. And it is an amazing sounding record, actually. I mean, it's just a ridiculously good recording. And it's interesting how the Brazilian instruments have been, Klaus Hogerman, who did all the arrangements, has kind of included them in a very interesting kind of way in the overall arrangement. And it's kind of, yeah, I mean, the tracks with both Frank and Jobim together don't really work that well, but the other ones are great, actually. Yeah, and it does sound amazing, this record, actually. And Klaus Hogerman's arrangements are great. Of course, he did stuff out as well, which we were talking about earlier on.
I didn't know they worked together.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
There were 2 records, actually. The second one's okay, but this one is really, really good, actually.
All right.
And Frank, his phrasing kind of works, actually.
Yeah. I like Sinatra a lot. His phrasing is amazing. Really.
So yeah, and I think this is either my dad's, or I think I might have bought it at a record fair in Whitstable. I can't remember where it came from, actually. So it cleaned up really nicely and sounds great.
Ooh. Well, my last album is actually a soundtrack album, and this was a film that I remember seeing when it came out at the Screen on the Green in London, in northwest London, and it's the soundtrack to the Bernard Tavernier film, Round Midnight, and this came out at the height of a sort of, one of the last sort of UK jazz moments when everybody was kind of into Working Week and Tommy Chase and I don't know, Loose Tubes and stuff, and this obviously strongly kind of put together by Herbie Hancock with a group of musicians who probably at the time I didn't really appreciate just how good they were. I didn't realize Bobby Hutcherson's all over this and Ron Carter,
all right.
Tony Williams, Bobby McFerrin, John McLaughlin, Pierre Michelot, and obviously Dexter Gordon, who features as the main character in the film.
In the movie,
it's very moody. It was so actually counter to what the UK jazz scene was sounding like at that time. And it was all about ballads and kind of deep, melancholy, moody stuff. But I kind of came back to this album because on the Stevie show I was doing, I was looking at songs that Stevie had written with other people, and he collaborated on Chan's song, Herbie Hancock. Yeah, that's a beautiful piece of music, but it's actually a wonderful album and really nicely recorded. So, and kind of a little bit overlooked, I think, but worth a review.
It's a good film as well, actually.
It's a great film.
Yeah,
I saw it many years ago, but yeah.
So moody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so my last record fits quite well here. It's Joe Henderson with Inner Urge. For me, it's really a classic of Blue Note. It was I bought it in the 90s on the CD, because I bought a lot of CDs in the 90s, and among all the Blue Notes I had, that was one of my favorite. In fact, Inner Urge, which is the 4th record on Blue Note by Joe Henderson. It featured Joe Henderson, Michael Tyner, Bob Cranshaw, and Elvin Jones. So it's a bit reminiscent of the John Coltrane type of stuff, earlier stuff. I like the compositions; it's brilliant. El Barrio, Isotope. It's still one of my favorite Blue Note records, I think.
I love his tone, love his playing.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we all know the elements. He went to Milestone, did some great records there, but the early Blue Note stuff are great. In and Out is also a favorite of mine. Yeah, so this one.
And I think he can't right through the 70s. He was great as well. I mean,
really. Yeah, really.
Like a little story around behind this one. This is the Boswell Sisters, Sweet Harmony, Hot Rhythm, from the 1930s. Now I was reading, I got a copy of the Donald Fagen biography called Eminent Hipsters, which I took up to the park with me, and I was reading the chat. He writes a whole chapter about the Boswell Sisters. And I got back and I opened up Facebook, and a friend of mine had put a Boswell Sisters record down as one of his most influential records he ever had. So I thought, had to get the Boswell Sisters out. And they were an amazing harmony group. Obviously, three white kind of New Orleans sisters from the 30s who did these incredible radical harmonies, jazz harmony. And they worked with some great jazz musicians, but their stuff is so radical and kind of interesting and ahead of its time. And I always thought this was just a kind of guilty pleasure of mine. I like the Boswell Sisters, but obviously they're beginning to get some kind of the recognition they deserve, I think. And this was just one of their albums from the 30s. I think they're all compilations of some of the stuff originally came out on 78. Got some great. It's got an amazing version of "Shine on Harvest Moon" on there, and a great chap called Heebie Jeebies. But one of the reviews recently of the Fagen book said that they sound like they're coming from space or something. Or their harmonies.
Wow.
So unusual and original as well, but they're great stuff. So big up the Boswell Sisters.
Excellent.
I think that probably is the first time they've appeared on the VC.
Well, that's the end of the music selection, but we also have got into the habit of just sharing a book or a film or both that we've been watching or reading in the last couple of weeks. And I've got a book and a film, and they both have a connection with women whose first name is Kim. So this is my book. This is called Black Wave, and it's written by someone called Kim Gattas, who is a Lebanese journalist. And basically, I'm so conscious of the impact the Middle East has had on the rest of the world. And I always feel so, unclear about the kind of historical narrative and what happened when and what impacted on what. And this book, it's pretty dense, and there's an awful lot of characters with names that sound quite similar that you have to really, focus on. But actually, in terms of telling a story, probably from the revolution in Iran, where the Shah sort of was deposed onwards, it seems. I mean, it's kind of making a lot of sense, and it's very well written. So, Black Wave is that. And then there was a fantastic film by a director called Kim Longinotto, also edited by a really good friend of mine called Oliver Huddleston, and it's called Sleeping with the Mafia. And it's I think it was in Sundance as one of the sort of documentary winners last year, and it's basically about a female photographer who worked in Sicily for a local newspaper, and she sort of discovered photography was her means of expression. And she basically just started documenting everything that was going on around her. And obviously what she noticed was an awful lot of people were dying. There's a lot of murders. And the story kind of focuses on her and her journey, but it's also really goes into what was going on with the mafia in the last, I'd say, 20 years. And there was some fairly dramatic changes and things that happened, but it's all through archive footage, and it's a fantastic movie. And a complete antithesis of the kind of Hollywood version of the mafia, which you often see. I mean, it's. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil the film. But it's really strong.
And it's on Netflix.
It's on. Well, I think I saw it on. No, it's on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime, yeah. So it's on Amazon. You can see it on Amazon. If you're a Prime member, it's free. Excellent. How about you, Christophe?
Yeah, I only have a book here because my DVDs are in another place, in another apartment. Unfortunately, it's a French book. It's written in French by a guy called Florent Mazzoleni. He's quite well known in France too. He knows a lot about African music, Brazilian music, etc. He has written a lot of books about African music, and this one is quite good. It's history and some of the best records coming out of Africa. You know, with the covers of records, you know,
Nice.
from all over Guinea, Ghana, Afrobeat, etc. High life. You know, it talks about, of course, Fela, Tony Allen, etc., etc. And it's a good book, really, but it's only in French, unfortunately. So most of the books I have are, of course, in France.
Hey, there's quite a few French
yeah
speaking people in the VC.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can read French as well, so I can.
I can read French as well, so yeah.
Great.
I should be able to. I'm half French, so. Okay, I've been getting into some Sam Shepard recently, actually, and I kind of on NPR. Was it NPR? Yeah, on. I can't remember, one of the NPR stations. There was one of his short stories. Somebody reading it just reminded me how a great writer he is. Really, obviously he's known for his plays and his and of course as an actor and on film and television and so forth. But I love his books. And this is a combination of two books: Motel Chronicles and Hawk Moon. And his books are all just about losers, really, and people just having to run into each other in weird places and have strange exchanges. And I kind of, I think maybe the lockdown has maybe missed those kind of weird chance encounters you have with people. And this is a great way of kind of getting a fix of that kind of stuff. Really, I think most of his books are really good. I mean, they're just very enjoyable, and they're kind of poignant in a weird kind of way, really, about how these people kind of relate to each other who don't know each other. And anyway, so Sam Shepard. And my film is actually not out yet. It's coming out next. I managed to see it last. In fact, the last trip I had to the States, I got to see this film, and it's coming out, I think, next week. And it's a film called Vast of Night, VAST of Night, and it's a kind of almost like a Twilight Zone kind of 50s style kind of science fiction film set in a radio station. It's really good. I mean, everything was quite low budget, but it doesn't feel like that at all. Actually, it's a really just a very, very kind of quite strange, but really interesting, nice film, actually. And it's coming out, I think, on Thursday or Friday next week on Amazon Prime. So Vast of Night, highly recommended.
Nice.
Excellent.
Well, I think we've probably reached, this feels like quite an epic again, but it's lovely to have Christophe. And
thank you for having me.
We'll be back. We'll end the recording now. So goodbye to the VC people.
Yeah, keep safe, everybody.